And hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the NYVT Media Sports Show. I'm your host, Keith Harrington, and we're coming to you today from the library at Granville Central School. Always try to get out on location when we can, so first time I think we've done the show from the Granville Library. And don't forget, our show is brought to you by our great sponsor, Maplewood Ice, over in Whitehall, New York. Thank you very much to Maplewood Ice for being our NYVT Media Sports Show sponsor. We're glad to have you along with us, and we couldn't obviously do it without our sponsor. So joining me today is Alex Torres from Granville Central School, the Golden Horde, football and baseball and basketball, but today we're here to talk and track, right?
Yes,
A man of many skills and talents, but here today to talk about football, as just a few minutes ago Alex signed his national letter of intent to play Division I college football at Sacred Heart University. And first of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's got to be a culmination of a lot of years of work. I know athletic director Justin Nasavera was talking about, he remembers when you were just a little guy, and to see you get to this point, it's impressive. How have you reached this point?
Honestly, my family's been like my anchor. Like without my family, I feel like I wouldn't have been able to push past my limits. Like they've really done a good job of like getting me out, like showing me like how to treat my body and stuff, like how to like eat healthy stuff, how to work out. And my dad too, like with his knowledge of football, I feel like without him and my mom, none of this would be possible.
Yeah, long tradition of football in your family. Your dad and your uncle coached at Granville, played at Granville, and now you're keeping another tradition alive by going to Sacred Heart.
Yes.
Family tradition, kind of speak.
Yes, my father and my uncle were both legacies of Sacred Heart.
Yeah, and your grandmother was telling me just a few minutes ago that the sweatshirt she was wearing from Sacred Heart was one that's 30 years old from when your dad and your uncle played.
That's probably true.
Maybe it's going to be time to give her an upgrade of some swag, right?
Yeah,
Some new apparel.
She deserves a new one.
I think I heard your dad saying that, yeah, Ma, you're going to get some new apparel here pretty quick. So other than the fact that you're a legacy student there with your dad and your uncle, what was it about Sacred Heart?
So the other colleges that I looked at, I enjoyed like a lot. But when I stepped onto campus at Sacred Heart, something just like, it felt like home. Like when I stepped on, there wasn't any football going on besides spring practice. And I could just, like the energy, it just felt right.
Right.
Is the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. I have a son that's a senior right now, and, I didn't get that excitement from him with some of the schools he looked at, and then he's going to be going, it looks like anyways, unless something changes, to UConn. And it was just something about him when he got that. We're going to visit there next week, but when he got that acceptance letter, I saw a change in him. That sounds like similar to when you walked on the campus of Sacred Heart.
Yeah, when I got that acceptance letter from Sacred Heart, I was a little bit more excited about that one than I was some of the others.
Awesome. That's good to hear. So, you played many positions for high school football here. You played some quarterback, played some tight end, some defensive end on the defensive side of the ball, some linebacker. Do you know what their plans are for you at Sacred Heart?
Following my conversations with Coach Gardner, they want me to start as a linebacker and then see how I develop as a player and then possibly transition from there.
Right. That sounds good. Well, you played some linebacker this past year, so you've got the experience there. So what can you tell me about the Sacred Heart program? What conference they play in, who they play on their schedule, things like that.
So Sacred Heart plays in the NEC. They play schools like Wagner, St. Francis, LIU. This year they're actually playing UConn and I believe Yale, which is a pretty big deal. They've won, I think, 2 or 3 national championships at the FCS level. And then just recently, 2020 and 2021, they won the conference championship back to back.
Right. And that's the same level that like UAlbany plays at, for example.
Correct.
I don't know, you don't play in the same conference, but any chance you'll be playing some games locally at some point during the career here?
I could see that.
Yeah, maybe UAlbany. I know sometimes coaches like to schedule teams that are in their area too, just to give people a chance to play close to home. So maybe that's something that'll be in the cards at some point
I sure
for
hope
you,
so. That'd be
for
nice.
your career. So you also, as you said, you played basketball, play baseball currently. You play on the track, did some track and field. How does playing a lot of sports help you for football and help you get to this point?
Honestly, I think from a character perspective, I think that's the biggest part because Granville's a very small school, and sometimes your better athletes have to play more than one sport, and that's most of the time. So I would consider myself one of the better athletes at Granville, and I think playing 3 or 4 sports is a good thing, not only for myself, but for the kids around me, to show everybody that it's okay to get involved and like it's cool to be involved.
Yeah, I think every single high school coach that's, the top coaches and college coaches that I've talked to all say the same thing. They encourage kids to play as many sports as possible because we see it seems like kids specialize more today. I'm not sure that's a good thing.
I don't really know how I feel about it either because I've played 4 sports, but I have friends that play just one sport, and I enjoy every moment I have with them on the field. So.
Right, exactly. So I guess it's maybe like a personal preference for
Yeah.
their goals, where they want to go, that type of thing. So your experience here at Granville, how has that helped you to get ready to go to Sacred Heart, both academically and football-wise?
I mean, my teachers have pushed me since 7th grade. I remember one of my 7th grade English teachers, I made a deal with her that I would never write another essay after 7th grade. And a couple weeks ago, she showed me the sticky note that I wrote that message down and I signed it with my signature. And I was thinking to myself, how could I have ever thought that? But
well, that's a big part of getting into college.
Oh, I know.
The essay, right?
I had to write the essay to get in, so I've had to write many essays since then. But
yeah.
unfortunately.
And then they say, my research with my son being a senior is the essay that you write to colleges plays a huge role in acceptance and things like that.
Yes, because the SAT and ACT are optional for Sacred Heart,
right.
So I didn't have to submit any of those.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So that's actually brings me to a good question is, since COVID, ACT and SAT optional has been a big thing. Do you think that really affects kids' acceptance, or do you think it plays a big role for either turning in those test scores or not to the college when you apply?
I don't think so. I think if you're a college looking to accept a student, I think seeing them getting involved with their school and their community at home is possibly the biggest factor.
Right. I know we went through that with my son, being that he came here from another country. His math is off the absolute charts, but his English language arts, that's a work in progress. Let's put it that way. So that obviously would lower his SAT score. So we had to go through that. We want to make him look as good to the school as possible. So it's, I think, a personal decision based on what you're trying to accomplish there. But what are you doing academically at Sacred Heart? You're going to major in. What's your goal past college as far as education goes, and what you want to do?
So I'm planning to major in sports management, minor in sports communication, or depending on what kind of classes I take, I could end up receiving a dual major. I've already been accepted into the 3+2 program, which is 3 years and I'll have a bachelor's, and then after 2 years, which will end up being 5, I'll have my master's in sports management.
Excellent.
Which is awesome.
Coming from a smaller size school such as Granville, what have the coaches there told you need to work on? Is it putting on muscle? Is it putting on weight? What do you need to work on to get ready for the college grind, I guess, of college football?
So far, they've told me enjoy being a high school kid while it lasts, because come camp, it'll fade quickly.
Yeah. So what do you think the daily schedule is going to be like as far as mixing football with academics? I mean, Division I, it's going to be a little bit different than it was at Granville High School, right?
It's going to be a lot more serious. There's no room for dilly-dally.
Right, exactly. I guess final question I would ask is, what are your goals at Sacred Heart football-wise? Where do you want to go? And when you graduate, what do you want to be able to say you accomplished there?
I just want to say that I made my family and my community proud, and I would like to use my education at Sacred Heart to better my career, because I'd like to get into coaching. So I figure starting Division I would increase my chances of getting my dream job of coaching in the ACC, coaching in the NFL, something like that.
Oh, that's excellent goals to have, no doubt about it. I had a cousin's son who didn't go to a Division I school, went to Ithaca, but now is the head football coach at Niskayuna.
That's awesome.
Actually, his father was a Granville graduate. Now, he was a Division I athlete out of Granville. He went to the University of Toledo, Ron Grassdorf. Your dad would know, I think, the name. There used to be a big company here in town, Grassdorf Press. Was a huge company in here town years ago. He went to University of Toledo, but back then they didn't have all this signing announcements,
Yeah.
and this is kind of a more recent thing, but it's great to see that you've made it to this level, and it was a great announcement day here today, and I'll have more coming up on Border Country Sports and in the paper about that as well. So, Alex, thanks for taking the time out. We got a basketball banquet to get to, right?
Yep.
We got some good eating to do, and we're ready for that in just a few minutes here. So, congratulations once again. Thanks for taking the time out to join me here today, and make sure we're staying in the loop and staying up to date on what's going on with your career at Sacred Heart.
Of course.
Definitely want to give you some publicity about that as you get going. So, once again, thanks for joining me, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Alex Torres heading to Sacred Heart University to play football, Division I. Had a signing day just a few minutes ago, the first signing day of this kind that's happened here for a Division I athlete in Granville. Certainly a historic day in Granville here today. Thanks for joining us here. This is the NYVT Media Sports Show. I'm your host, Keith Harrington, and we'll talk to you next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Maplewood Ice of Whitehall. Thank you to Maplewood Ice for sponsoring our program.